Hello! Time to pick a relevant card. Goblin Shredders are... Wait. What? They're not standard anymore? Well, I know. Sky Golems are the big thing. They were upgraded to... What the hell is a format? Well, heedless of obsolescence, I'll continue. Out of standard or not, the Goblin Shredder is possibly the most iconic vehicle used by the Goblin race, and given their prominence within Hearthstone, I simply must go on about them. You see, for the longest time, the Goblins were well known as the purely neutral group devoted entirely to trade and commerce. During the First and Second Wars between the Alliance and the Horde, it was the Goblins that sat right in the middle and made a big sack of cash off the lot of them. I mean, I really cannot emphasize this enough. The Goblins grew rich off these wars, trading their amazing technology, which was far advanced from what most other races could achieve. The Goblins sold weaponry, transportation, supplies, and any amount of mercenaries. Their biggest advantage, though, was realizing the things both groups needed the most. It wasn't bigger weapons or stronger armies, it was supplies and transport, plain and simple. As such, perhaps the biggest invention that most prominently put the Goblins on the map was the Zeppelin. Huh? I didn't expect that, did you? But really, flight was a big deal. Powered, steerable flight that didn't rely on the horsepower of a griffin or something. Until that point, the skies had belonged to dragons and the Wildhammer dwarves. Now it was for whomever could afford the biggest Zeppelin, which could transport troops across great distances. No other race could supply this, and no one could foresee the amount of power command over the skies would give. The closest other races could get was the Bronzebeard dwarves' work with the gnomes, years later creating small combat gyrocopters, but nothing to the scale of Zeppelins. Nobody else could even invent their own Samoflange.
What the hell is a Samoflange?
Not that your feeble orc mind would understand, but the Samoflange is one of the most revolutionary tools ever invented by the Goblins. Essentially, it's a high-powered drill designed to attach the snap gasket to the Bleem Seal's intake valves. Now leave me alone.
So this brought Goblins to prominence, despite the fact that Zeppelins were ridiculously dangerous and prone to spontaneous combustion. The flammable gas Goblinium is multi-purpose, after all. But what really revolutionized Goblin life, warfare, and commerce was, yes, the Goblin Shredder in the Third War. The first Shredder model was a fairly simple design, at least relatively. A large mechanical suit that can, by means of enormous saw blades and a hopper, allow a skilled pilot to harvest enormous amounts of lumber in a very, very short amount of time. A shredder could collect 10 or 20 times as much lumber as a normal human peasant or orcish peon, meaning that anyone that could afford to hire even one shredder could spend the rest of their resources on a big army, because one shredder could replace an entire workforce. And that meant the Goblins got paid a lot. And since the Shredder design was so successful, it's only natural that they would upgrade it a bit, no? Cue the first iteration of the modern Goblin Shredder. The hopper was replaced with a set of controllable claws, able to grip and better suited for fine motion, while the machine itself was made bulkier, heavier, and considerably more dangerous, whether or not its victim was a tree. The saw blade became bigger, its chest compartment became detailed with the face of a goblin, and the new iteration was ready to ship. First seen within the 4 years after the Third War, prominently in places owned by the venture company used in popular Goblin sport Footbomb, and best represented by none other than the lumber master of the Dead Mines, yes, the Dead Mines again, Sneed. Sneed and his employees were, shall we say, legitimate businessmen, hired on by Edwin Van Cleef, and given the relatively simple task of rebuilding to shipshape the shattered remains of an old Horde Juggernaut-class battleship. A boat characterized by just the sheer number of cannons. Found in the mast room, surrounded by the decrepit remains of dead trees, Sneed and his boys shaped these logs into working order to be taken down to the mines for later use. Sneed acted as both the taskmaster and guardian of his working area, because his shredder, so iconic that it showed up on the inside cover of the original World of Warcraft box, was very large and very, very powerful. It took a lot to take down Sneed's shredder, and even then he just jumped off and started slashing people himself. Still, this iteration of the Goblin Shredder proved popular and widespread. It went unedited for many years, the only real modifications being the addition of a domed cockpit roof, providing better protection and making them even more suited for combat. Of course, Goblins never stop fixing what ain't broke, and it wasn't long before, thanks to a new power source designed by Chief Engineer Judd, whose identity I actually don't know, the design of the Goblin Sky Golem was finalized. What makes a Sky Golem different from a Shredder? Well, aside from being better in every way, I'll run you through it. 2. Transformable, agile, clawed hands, able to switch between claw mode and rotating blade mode, effectively doubling the Shredder's blades and its claws at the same time. Considerably more nimble suit itself with a convertible domed roof, far better movement in the arms and the legs, able to be given modifications for war or for commerce such as electrical weapons. But by far, the biggest and most significant change was the sea and air modes. Through simple presses of buttons, the machine is able to enter a submarine mode, able to traverse deep underwater areas for science reasons, dome-sealed and saw blades used as propellers. However, it's called a Sky Golem for a reason. The Sky Golem has within its feet a set of powerful propulsion jets, in its back a set of steadying wings, and in its hands a set of propellers. In other words, it's a robot that can enter flight mode. And holy moly is it cool! It can go at astounding speed to astounding height, all while burning fuel like it was going out of fashion. With the invention of the Sky Golem, the old Shredder model was rendered completely and utterly obsolete. But it didn't stop there, because the Sky Golem was invented within War Chief Garrosh Hellscream's Horde, and anything made for his Horde could be made stronger. Enter Siegecrafter Helix Blackfuse, the head engineer of Garrosh's army, and one of the most ruthlessly intelligent goblins ever to live. This man invented the Iron Star, one of the most dangerous weapons of mass destruction ever seen. By his hand, the Sky Golem was turned into an outright weapon of war. Coating it in black armor, attaching enormous lasers and electrical weapons onto it like tumors, and surrounding himself with weapons the likes of which nobody had ever seen, Blackfuse prepared the city of Orgrimmar for its final siege. Oh, and he also made these.
The SD-5 Automated Shredder Defense Unit! A labor of love.
No pilots, no intricacies, just the suits, moving entirely on their own. Programmed to kill trees, no doubt, and programmed to see everything and everyone as a tree. I imagine their electronic minds think somewhat like this.
Never shall I know love or pain.
Ah, jeez.
I have no mouth and I must scream.
Okay, calm down.
Death means nothing, for I have never lived.
Blackfuse was defeated during the siege of Orgrimmar, and his Shredder designs, though thankfully not the automated ones, shut up, went on to be used by the Iron Horde of the alternate version of Draenor, the Blackfuse company, acting as engineers to Garrosh and his time-travel dad's new version of the Horde. They mostly went on to be used for resource gathering this time, though since they were being used by orcs, the goblins did make one particularly dangerous one, the Iron Reaver. This dread machine stands as the perfect combination of demonic and goblin engineering. This is the modern, goblin-designed answer to the old-fashioned Fell Reaver, the notorious building-sized death robots built by the Burning Legion.
The might and invention of the Fell Horde! The fury of Hellfire itself! Behold!
Piloted by a lucky orc, equipped with powerful jets on its feet and a fell-launching Hellfire cannon on one arm, the Iron Reaver was the first line of defense against invaders within the Hellfire Citadel, the Legion's base of operations in the new time-travel Draenor. It fell. Goblin ingenuity birthed the Shredder and kept it healthy and growing. I haven't even mentioned the Super Reaper 6000, which is basically a moving lumber mill. But how can I tell the whole story of some of the most iconic, destructive machines in the world? The Goblin Shredder's past has shaped history, and its future shall no doubt be even worse.